Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really big question, all inspired by an article from the Indian Panorama. What actually makes a country great? And we're going to explore this through the lens of one of the world's oldest and, let's be honest, most complex civilizations, India. So the article we're looking at kicks things off with this really powerful quote from the 19th century scholar Max Muller. He basically suggests that India is where the human mind really hit its peak. Now, that is a huge claim, and it totally sets the stage for us to explore what's behind that idea. And there it is, the core question. It's massive, right? The source article tries to answer it by looking at India's incredible past, its super dynamic present, and of course, its potential for the future. So let's break down the main arguments it makes. All right, here's our game plan. The article breaks its answer down into these 5 main parts. Think of this as our roadmap for the next few minutes as we dig into each one of these pillars. Okay, first up, the source points to India's incredibly unique cultural fabric. And it's not talking about just one single culture. No, it's describing this amazing blend of thousands of distinct, unique cultures, all living side by side in one nation. Now, right at the heart of this cultural mosaic, the source really highlights the influence of what are called dharmic religions. It argues that concepts like dharma, which is kind of like cosmic law and doing your duty, and karma, the sum of your actions, these ideas are just woven into the very fabric of Indian philosophy, its art, its music, for thousands of years. And this chart really helps visualize just how deep that influence runs. According to the article, somewhere between 80 and 82% of India's population today follows one of these faiths that were born on the subcontinent. And this is a really important point the article makes. That's not the whole story. It also emphasizes India's historic role as a sort of refuge. It says that for centuries, faiths from other parts of the world, many of them fleeing persecution, found a safe harbor there, which just added even more layers to its incredibly diverse identity. The article also makes sure to include the more complicated parts of this history, pointing out that there were absolutely periods of conflict and persecution. It mentions things like the destruction of temples and a population decline between 1000 and 1500 AD as part of this really multifaceted story. So, that complex history, with both conflict and coexistence, leads us right into the second pillar. The source material argues that out of this environment, these incredible periods of innovation just burst forth. We're shifting from culture to the legacy of ancient and medieval achievements, and the argument is that these golden ages really built the foundation for everything that came after. And what's so fascinating is that the article points to not one, but 2 separate golden ages, and they happened in different parts of the country, centuries apart. First, you had the Gupta Empire up in the north, and then way later, the Chola dynasty in the south. It just goes to show that innovation wasn't some one-off event. It was a recurring theme. And this single number illustrates what might be one of the most significant contributions from that time, the concept of zero. I mean, it's almost impossible to overstate how important this was. Modern math, engineering, computers, literally none of it would exist without the invention of zero. And it was way more than just math. The source lists off other world-changing innovations from this period: the strategic game of chess, the whole medical system of Ayurveda, and even early forms of vaccination. It was just an incredible time for creativity and discovery. Okay, so how does all that incredible history connect to today? Well, the third pillar dives right into that, focusing on India's modern economic and demographic power, arguing that the legacy is just continuing in a new form. As proof of this modern global leadership, the source tells us to just look at the corporate world. And when you stop and think about it, it's pretty staggering. The CEOs of absolute giants like Google, Microsoft, and Adobe, all of them have Indian origins. The article holds this up as a clear sign of India's intellectual capital really shaping the global tech scene. And then there's the economy. The source makes a very specific point that India's economy has now grown to overtake that of the United Kingdom, and that's a huge milestone, both symbolically and in a very practical sense. This number represents a massive claim from the source, that India is now the world's #1 largest English-speaking nation. The article argues this isn't just some random statistic. It's a gigantic strategic advantage when it comes to global business and communication. So the big takeaway here is that this modern influence is coming from all directions. You've got politics as the world's largest democracy, you've got economics as the fastest growing major economy, and then trade as a key exporter of everything from food to software. Next, the article shifts our focus to the incredible collection of cultural sites that are not just important to India, but are actually considered vital for all of humanity. According to the source, as of July 2016, this was the number of UNESCO World Heritage Sites inside India. And just to be clear, every single one of those is considered to be of immense cultural or natural importance to the entire world. And this is just a tiny sample. The source lists these iconic names like the Taj Mahal, which is this incredible monument to love, and Nalanda University, one of the first truly great universities in the world. See, these aren't just old buildings. They are physical records of thousands of years of human history and achievement. And it's not just about physical places. The article also shines a light on the rich living traditions that have been kept alive for centuries, like India's 8 classical dance forms. Each one is a totally sophisticated and beautiful art form in its own right. And finally, the article wraps up by looking to the future. After laying out all these different arguments for what makes India great, it asks the big question: what's needed to carry this incredible legacy forward? And the source boils its entire argument down to this one single crucial takeaway. It proposes that after all is said and done, the history, the economy, the culture, the real key to sustaining that greatness is national unity and a shared commitment among its people. And so, we'll leave you with that final thought from our explainer. We've looked at arguments for culture, innovation, and economics, but the article's last word is that it all comes down to unity. So what do you think? Is a shared identity the ultimate foundation for a country's greatness, or could it be something else entirely? Thanks for watching.